Alright, welcome back to cooking my way through half a cow. Now in this week's episode, I'm using the simplest thing you can get in a 1/8 box or for any box of meat for that matter, and that is the humble sausage. Now I'm going to be cooking this one on the Weber Kettle over the top of those briquettes to get that open flame underneath them, just impart a whole lot of flavour, and then I'm going to dress them up nice and simple in a hot dog bun. Alright, so you'll notice how I've got my briquettes just on one side, and that's simply because I want to be able to control my heat, have a hot and cold side, and then once my sausages are cooked off, I can always chuck a bit of wood on there and then move them over to the opposite side to the heat and put the lid on there, and it will cause that smoking effect and give those snags a little bit more flavour. Now for anybody that hasn't cooked over open flames, briquettes or coals, you've got to make sure that you're going to keep an eye on that meat. Make sure you've got a high rotation, keep flipping them, turning them or moving them around, especially something like sausages. Now when cooking sausages, you're going to have a lot more fat spillage than normal. Now that's fine because it will drip down onto your coals or flames, whatever you've got down there, but it will ignite a bigger flame. So that's where by keeping an eye on your meat and making sure that you're moving and rotating, you're not going to leave them there to burn to a cinder if you're not keeping an eye on them. So for here, I'm allowing it to singe and charcoal the outside of the sausage, but I'm not leaving them there too long that it's going to destroy them. Now that my sausages are cooked, at this point, if you did want that smoky flavour, move them to the opposite side, the cooler side, and throw some timber on top of those coals, lid on, Bob's your uncle. So now I'm up to assembling my sausage and bread, but instead of just using a plain white piece of bread, I'm going to use a hot dog bun just for something a little bit different. And I'll start by throwing down some cheese, just to get that in there as a base. And then because I was lazy and I couldn't be bothered having to wash the cast iron pan, I actually opted to use some pickled onions, and while I was there I saw I had some pickled little gherkins there, so I decided to throw them in there as well. And then to finish it all off before putting in my sausage, I decided to use some Lanes BBQ sauce. Now instead of using just sort of white or kind of sweet, I know they are absolutely deadly on their own, but I figured they'd probably go off their head if I mix them together, so I decided to throw them in there and just wing it and see how they go. Now spoiler alert, these sauces actually came up incredible when mixed. So if you've got any of the Lanes BBQ Sorta white or kinda sweet, I highly recommend just mix some together and have a try of them as a mixed product. They are actually amazing. It really did come up well. I'll probably do it a whole lot more often. But anyway, back to the food at hand here. Now it's time for me to add my sausage in, and everything went perfect here other than knocking my tongs off onto the ground. But other than that little setback, the actual sausage in my bun came up incredible. The flavours actually meshed together really well. I was a little bit apprehensive to how the old pickled onions and the gherkin would go, but surprisingly they came together extremely well. So let me know in the comments, how do you cook your sausage and what ingredients do you put on top of your sausage and bread?